Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55. Presented by Slapsticks Comedy Club. For ticket information, go to slapstickscomedy.com.
All right, top 5 dark horse college football playoff teams. Now look, these are people who are not. Look, they're not Clemson. They're not Ohio State. They're not Georgia. They're not Alabama. I mean, they're not Oklahoma.
Otherwise, that would not be dark horses.
Yeah. Now, the first team would not be a dark horse, but they've never been in the thing before, so that's why they're on this list. But number 5, USC. I know, never been in the college football playoff and have been out of the conversation, much like Texas has in the last decade or so. And the reason I say that is, look, their schedule lines up pretty well for them right now. Ranked opponents: Utah, Notre Dame, and Arizona State. So you get through, especially if you get through Notre Dame and get a win there, you're probably going to win the Pac-12 and find yourself in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean, they got a good starting point with Keaton Slovis, and Graham Harrell, and that offense ought to be a lot of fun to watch. I know, they've got a lot of talent as well. I mean, I think Oregon's the favorite, obviously, in the Pac-12. I mean, Utah's obviously going to have something to say as well, and who knows who else. But dark horse, I mean, yeah, they'd be a definite dark horse, and they have just enough talent to, live up to that label of exceeding expectations, I think.
Yeah. We talked about this team, number 4, earlier in the show. We'll talk about them tomorrow, or actually Thursday on the program. North Carolina at number 4 with Mac Brown and Sam Howell. Look, they have 2 ranked opponents, and it's getting through Notre Dame, but also Miami, a game that they host at home. If they can avoid, last year they had an upset in Tallahassee against Florida State. I don't think that's going to happen this year. Miami is a team that could jump up and bite them. I don't think Miami is quite there yet. I think they're still a little while away, De'Aaron King notwithstanding. And you get through Notre Dame. I mean, this is a team that could wind up facing Clemson in the ACC title game, and then you get down to a 1-game season, you could find yourself in the playoffs.
Tell me how many division championships that USC has won in the last 10 years.
I don't know.
4. Okay. Division championships in the South, and then lost in 2 of the 3 games. And then they were ineligible. They have been non-existent. Yeah. They have been.
Yeah, they haven't been. I mean, since the Pete Carroll years, basically, and they had the whole. What was the Sark thing, which, derailed them. Obviously, that eventually became a good thing for Texas. But, yeah, I mean, for the most part, they have not been the Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart years are a long time ago now. Yeah. I mean, they're a long time ago, and that's still what people kind of hold on to is that mystique. So, yeah, it's been a while. But, like I said, I think Oregon has something to say there. Now, as far as North Carolina goes, they're not a dark horse in spirit because I think a lot of people are on game with them and people are aware of their potential. I do think if they can, get out of that first part of the schedule without any blips, and you obviously have that big 2-game stretch there in the middle, which will be the deciding factor. But I won't put anything past Mac Brown. I mean, he's done it once again as far as building up a program and putting them into contention. And so, yeah, North Carolina is one of the teams I'm very much looking forward to watching this year.
All right, number 3, Iowa State. And this is a team Craig picked to win the Big 12. And if they win the Big 12, then you would assume that means they've beaten Oklahoma at once. They've had to beat them once.
Yeah.
And if not twice on the year. So I think again, this season really comes down to them, of course, not having any hiccups with the teams beneath them in the Big 12 and beating Iowa in the second week and, getting over the Oklahoma hump when it matters in the later part of the year.
Yeah, that Iowa game has been a bugaboo for them, and it's been an early season loss for them more often than not. So they got to win that one this time around. It's been, 6-7 years in a row, I think, that Iowa has won that game. But, I mean, how much more loaded can Iowa State possibly get? I mean, as far as the setup for this season, you have the type of year that COVID provided to where – Brock Purdy might have come back anyways, very likely might have, but I mean, they were able to just basically just hit reset on last year with the same team for the most part, and obviously very good running back. They've got good receiver. I mean, they're going to be stout. They're going to be a really hard out. And I picked them over Oklahoma just because I pick Oklahoma every single year. And I thought if anybody's going to jump up and win it, this has got to be the year for Iowa State to do it.
They are still kind of not bitter, but frustrated because Baylor jumped ahead of them in 19 and had that really solid team and won the game at the buzzer. Iowa's won 5 straight against them. They didn't play last year, but they've won 5 in a row. And a couple of them have been down like at the very end of overtime. And then 18-17 was that game in 2019.
But, yeah, this is the year they got to beat Iowa. And if they do that, then I think they're on a really strong course to go play in that Big 12 title game.
Yeah, and the schedule kind of lines up for Iowa State, too, between Big 12 big boys, so to speak. All right, number 2, Wisconsin. Now, this one's a little tougher road to hoe. Look, they opened with Penn State at home, which I don't know if Penn State's going to be Penn State 2 years ago or Penn State of COVID year. Like,
no, they're not going to be Penn State or COVID year.
Or somewhere. They're going to be somewhere in between, more than likely. But if you get through the first couple of weeks, Penn State, and again, Notre Dame on this list, Notre Dame, they've got a ridiculous schedule. And that's why I picked them early in the show. They're going to have a team in the top 10 that's not because of this ridiculous schedule they've got. Notre Dame's tough. They got to bring it every week. But if you get through Penn State and Notre Dame, then you don't have anybody until Iowa on October 30th, and who knows where Iowa's going to be at that point in the year. And then you close the season, Rutgers, Northwestern.
They play Indiana?
Nebraska and Minnesota. Yeah, they don't. I mean, they have a pretty good Big Ten schedule. So if they got hot, they could do it, and they've got a quarterback that they like.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to face their old quarterback as a result of the quarterback they like. They're going to see him this year. But, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a dark horse. I haven't be honest with you, I haven't, like, really delved into Wisconsin much outside of just kind of the knowledge of their quarterback situation. But, you know, super strong program.
But again, this list is people. Everything's got to go right.
Right? Yeah, of course. So yeah, I mean, if everything goes right for them, then yeah, I could see Wisconsin in contention. They'd definitely be a dark horse, but that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and number 1, I know that they're ranked 6th, but this is a team that famously, no matter how high they're ranked, steps on their you-know-what when it gets time to do it. In Texas A&M, they have 4 years. Absolutely fallen on their face when they really, really need to step up. And then last year, outside of Alabama, that was their one blemish. This looks like a team that's ready to break through. But do you break through 100 years of history, and it's hard to do it?
And do you do it with a freshman, basically a redshirt freshman quarterback?
Well,
right?
Jimbo Fisher did that the other time he won the national title. So
with Jameis Winston,
yeah. I know that's different. It's. I mean, you can't. It's not fair to compare Haynes King to him right now. He hasn't taken a snap, as the starter. But this team, if you look at the progression he made at Florida State, it's very similar this year at A&M. But again, he had Jameis Winston in 13. Like, that was the X factor among a ton of NFL players, which he's got at A&M right now. And this is a team that has never hit their expectations. So that's why, to me, they're the dark horse.
Charles, explosive. Go ahead.
I'll say, at first I was kind of balking at the dark horse thing, but the more you talked about it, I mean, yeah, it's hard for me or probably most people to believe like A&M's a real true contender, and not just like, oh, they're going to be pretty good. No, like they're a real true contender potentially. Everything's in line. I mean, the schedule's favorable. They do have an early road trip to Colorado, but the SEC schedule is quite favorable for them. I mean, they got the last game of the year is at LSU. Don't know what to expect from LSU just yet, especially by that point. But, I mean, outside of that, they get most of their big games at home. There is that quarterback question with Haynes King, but outside of him, I mean, you're pretty much stacked across the board. So they're legit, man. They look legit on paper. They'll look legit when the time comes to kick off, and we'll see if this is that special type of year that's eluded them for a very long time.
All right, thanks to